pictures tell the story. That dramatic Jerry Corrick field goal gave the Eskimos the 2-week break and home field advantage that goes to first-place finishers, relegating the BC Lions and the Saskatchewan Roughriders to a semi-final showdown, which the Lions won big, 42-18 at Taylor Field in Regina. That was BC's 4th win in a row and earned them a chance to dethrone the defending Grey Cup champion Eskimos.
Edmonton, beware!
We are in Edmonton for the West Final between the...
Well, of course, Tracy Ham's scrambling is going to be a focal point for us, but along with it, it's going to be Blake Marshall's running the ball, or if they choose one of the other running backs. But we've got to stop the run of both the quarterback and the running back.
No, I really, I'm going to give you an honest answer. I think, as I said during the week, it's an awesome team because I think, number one, their defense has scored between 8 and 10 touchdowns. Now, that's probably half of what our offense scored. So they're a force on defense. They play great defense.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to CFN's presentation of the West Final from Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton. The red-hot BC Lions, the defending Grey Cup champion Edmonton Eskimos. Neil Lumsden, the Lions, as I say, very hot down the stretch on defense and offense. Matt Dunnigan leading the way, and that running game. But can the Lions win today without going to their Shenley finalist, David Williams?
Well, I don't think so. David Williams has been their big play guy. No question. Outstanding athletic ability. Matt Dunnigan gets the ball in what's called the target area. David Williams goes up for it and catches it. But I think it's key to also remember, you mentioned the running game. There are 3 other receivers in the passing formation. Matt Dunnigan will use, and it will have to use all of them to have success against the Eskimos.
Eskimos have struggled on offense this season, Neil. Tracy Ham gets the call today. They've had problems on the offensive line. What's the key?
Well, they have had some problems because people have been shuffled around, a couple injuries. I think they've come together. This week they understand that Tracy Ham is going to need time. The BC Lions look at the Eskimo offense as being explosive when Tracy Ham starts to run with the football.
A pair of evenly matched teams, the BC Lions and the Eskimos, and they play next for the West Championship. Well, you've heard about the Eskimos' tremendous playoff record here at Commonwealth Stadium. They're leaning a lot on the tradition and the pride factor, Neil Lumsden, in this game. I mean, obviously it has to be done on the field, but they think that's an advantage.
They do think it's an advantage. I think they realize that they haven't played a good football game offensively, defensively, special teams in quite a while. And before the game, Danny Bass said, you know, we have the advantage. We might not have finished strong, but we feel we're in the driver's seat. And I look in his eyes and I see that intensity. And if that intensity can run over to the Eskimos, they can erase what's gone on before that.
I think it would also be fair to say that seldom has an Edmonton team looked as vulnerable or faced as hot a team as BC in the Western Final as they will today. The Lions with 4 victories in a row, and if you're a believer in momentum, confidence, well, you have to like the Lions' chances here this afternoon.
Well, there's no question that they've been hot on a roll. They're getting outstanding performances from Williams, Matt Dunnigan. Their defense is far more aggressive than it has been earlier on, and we're going to see as Jerry Corrick gets ready to put it deep.
You can tell the fans are into it, and we're underway as Corrick kicks off. It's fielded at the 30-yard line and returned to the 46 of the BC Lions. That was Wes Cooper running it back. And the former Eskimo, who so much has been said about this year, playing with the BC Lions after the trade, Matt Dunnigan, lead the Lions onto the field for the first offensive series of the game. And they'll start from the Lion 46-yard line. Stuart Hill leading the Edmonton defensive charge.
The Eskimos realize they have to get on the BC Lion running game early. Don't give them an opportunity. Watch Stuart Hill get in here. Big Larry Clarkson pulls across, but Stuart Hill is able to get up early. Mandarich in there also. That's what they're going to have to do to the running backs of the Lions. Get a shot on them before they get to the line of scrimmage.
Jan Carinci carrying the ball on a bit of an unusual look for the Lions. Dunnigan throws, and that was almost picked off by Cliff Toney.
You know, you come off a 2-week break, as the Eskimos have done, having won first place, and sometimes And in the past, I experienced this. You come out a little bit flat, a little slow. It's not that you're not intense. It's just it takes a while to get back into it. The Eskimos are battling that right now, and they certainly didn't come out flat in the first series in defense.
Great resolve in the Edmonton camp that they have a point to prove this afternoon. And they are indeed very ready if those first two plays are any indication. Louis Pasaglia kicking on third down. Henry Williams has it. And Pasaglia saves an Edmonton touchdown.
The Eskimos work so hard to give Henry Williams just a seam. Watch how the blocking forms. He misses one man. Good block by Don Wilson. That creates that seam. Henry Williams' ability just takes over after that. And Williams has been very quiet this week. There's been a lot of chatter. He wants to let his actions talk.
Eskimos with the ball for the first time at the BC 41-yard line. Lions appeared to be offside unless they were pulled to play whistle dead before Tracy Ham could take off. Talk about Gizmo Williams. Referee Ken Lazarick will tell us about the penalty.
Offside, BC 45, first down repeated.
That was Greg Stillman of the Lions. Williams, 96 punt returns, 964 yards this year. Not all the spectacular things he did last year, but still the tremendous threat that he is. And we saw that on that 45-yard return. Ham and the Eskimos, 1st and 5 now from the BC 36. Again, early movement as the handoff goes to Blake Marshall, who picks up close to 5 yards.
I think we're seeing some anxiety on both sides of the football. Everyone's wanting to establish themselves very quickly, and it usually happens from a good, solid hit. I think both sides, Eskimos and the Lions, want to be the first to do it.
Larry Donovan, the head coach of the BC Lions, 48 years of age. Both he and Joe Faragelli, of course, took over their teams into the '87 season. Donovan late, Faragelli early.
Offside, BC, first down.
2 consecutive offside penalties against the Lions gives Edmonton a first down.
You're going to see once again some early movement right up the left side there. Ballard comes off early. It's time to settle down for the BC Lions.
Eskimos are at the 31 of the Lions. 1st and 10, we're scoreless minutes into the game. Tracy Ham, big pressure, gets the ball away, and there was nobody near it. Ham saving the loss as the Lions came through to get him. One of the big changes as we look at Joe Faragelli, the 59-year-old head coach of the Eskimos, one of the big changes the Lions made about halfway through the season, Neil, was a change in their approach to the way they play defense.
Well, they'd been known for years under Don Matthews as being very aggressive, but they backed off in the first half of the '88 season. Asking Larry Donovan yesterday, are you more aggressive now? He said, you bet. We felt that's the best way we play defense.
And here they come again. Ham under tremendous pressure did well to get the football away over the head of the intended receiver. So the Lions close down the Edmonton scoring threat with good pass rush on consecutive plays, but we will see a field goal try with Jerry Korrick. Korrick is the man who kicked the Eskimos into first place on that last play kick against Calgary in the last game of the year. And of course, we all remember what he did in the Grey Cup game last year with a late field goal that gave the Eskimos the win over Toronto. This is a 38-yard effort. And it's good. The Eskimos score first, not quite 3 minutes into the first quarter at Commonwealth Stadium.
As the game goes on, the meetings on the sidelines will take place. Offensive line coach Gary Dirchik going over some changes that they might make from what they've seen in the first series against the BC Lions.
Jerry Korrick's 38-yard field goal came at 2:47 of the first quarter. Edmonton leading BC 3-0 in the West Final at Commonwealth Stadium. Korrick kicking off. Anthony Parker at the 30. And he stopped at the 37, maybe the 38-yard line. Little question very early in the game that the Edmonton Eskimos are ready to play, and I think we can say the same about the BC Lions, who defensively stopped the Eskimos the first time they had the football.
They started to bend a bit, but they certainly came up top after they settled down. A couple of procedure penalties. Matt Dunnigan, realizing that the pressure usually builds up early on in a football game, knows he has to spread the ball around. David Williams may be the key. A aside from that, he has to use everyone to have success.
Those Dunnigan numbers you just saw in the West semifinal against Saskatchewan. Dunnigan under pressure, throws it incomplete. He was looking for Tony Cherry, who came out of the backfield into the left flat. What a year Cherry had, and what a year Matt Dunnigan had, the top-rated passer in the CFL, a career best 26 touchdown passes.
Larry Donovan said yesterday he believes his team is on a roll but has not reached its potential. It's funny, you watch the game on TV and they look so good, but he said when they sit down in the film room and go over the game they've just played, there's still an awful lot of improvement that they have to do.
2nd and 10 from the BC 37 for Dunnigan, who has time and puts it up long. Cherry is wide open. Cherry has a touchdown. And there's that spike that so angered the Edmonton Eskimo players from the game last week in the semifinals. 73 yards. Tony Cherry and Matt Dunnigan.
Running back gets in the game. He doesn't have to carry it. Tony Cherry, you see, he's in motion. They've got a one-on-one situation with Tony. He goes straight up the seam. Good read, and he gets that jump on number 6, Tony. Then all Dunnigan does is lay the ball out. Cherry doesn't even have to break stride. Cherry said before the game, if you want to stop me from spiking the football, you're going to have to stop me from getting in the end zone.
That's one of the things the Eskimos were upset about, is the way Cherry spiked the ball and appeared to spike it at Saskatchewan players in the semifinal game. And Cherry's rebuttal was just as Neil said. The BC Lions, on a touchdown by Cherry, are now ahead. CFN and Foster's bringing you the best of Canadian football all the way to the Grey Cup. When the BC Lions beat the Edmonton Eskimos twice late in the regular season, the Eskimos were without Cliff Toney and Ron Howard in their secondary. Joel Ferragelli, the Edmonton head coach, felt very good about having those two players back today, but Toney was beaten by Cherry on the 73-yard touchdown pass. Dunnigan to Cherry. Brett Williams has the Passaglia kickoff, having all sorts of trouble with it, and is finally down at the 41.
What's up? How you doing, Victor? Mom, Dad, I'm my homeboys.
Tony Cherry taking advantage along with Matt Dunnigan. That middle opens up wide, and Dunnigan sends Cherry down the seam. Cherry has position initially and stays to the inside. There's no safety in this particular defense that is there to help out Cliff Toney.
Cherry only 16 pass receptions during the regular season, a huge one early in this West final. The Eskimos run with Blake Marshall on first down and get maybe 2 off their right side.
Talking with Larry Donovan, he said James Parker throughout the season was getting better and better, and then he sort of reached a plateau. The BC Lions as a team began to explode, and James Parker just got better and better with the team, and they say he's very close to being back to his all-star form of the years past.
May never come all the way back, but is close enough to stay in there. Tracy Ham throws and completes to Tom Richards at center field, and there's a flag on the play. Might be a late hit against Ham.
Eskimos' game plan going into this contest was to work the inside. Use your slot backs and running backs in the middle of the BC Lion defense. And that means Richard Sincar, House, and the backs.
Roughing the passer, 78 BC, first down Edmonton.
Mac Moore takes a penalty. They'll advance the ball even more. Ham in a straight drop back situation. The ball's delivered well in time. The hit wasn't necessary. It's going to cost the Lions.
Lions tied with Winnipeg as the most penalized team in the CFL this season. Take one that moves the football to the BC 39. 1st and 10 Edmonton. Tracy Ham gets away from some of the rush and more, and winds up gaining 5 yards. Tracy Ham gets the start with Marshall and Johnstone in the Edmonton backfield. The receiving core with Gizmo, Williams, and Jim Sandusky wide, and veterans Richards and Sincar inside. The offensive line, it's been a troubled area all season long. Bill Stevenson, of course, back from retirement late in the season.
A potential fairy tale ending to Bill Stevenson's career. He's looking for one more Grey Cup ring.
Yeah, he only has 7. Still got a few appendages left. 2nd down and 7 for Tracy Ham and the Eskimos. Ham gets it away and completes it to the 26 of BC for an Edmonton first down.
Right there, the BC Lions do everything they're supposed to do when they rush a guy like Tracy Ham. They work to the outside in, they keep the middle fairly closed, then they close on Ham when he starts to move. But what versatility. He starts to run, and just before he reaches Brian Bellway, he throws the ball to Sinclair.
Well, Tracy Ham had a hand in 10 of Edmonton's 11 wins this year. He puts it into the end zone. Rick House is open, and he can't hang on. The Edmonton offense, led by Ham, is working against a defensive front that is very strong, with Parker and Ballard leading the way. The linebackers, Stuman, Braswell, Konar, an outstanding trio. And in the secondary, Marcus Thomas in replacing injured Larry Crawford. But Thomas, in 4 games during the regular season, had 4 interceptions. What they miss with Crawford is his kick return ability
and experience.
Second down and 10 from the BC 26. Ham forced out of the pocket, but he'll run for the first down to the BC 12-yard line.
There's that explosiveness that the Lions defense was worried about. Tracy Ham's ability to, when he sees nothing and it is frozen downfield, to back out of the pocket even when there's just a little bit of a gap and turn into their 3rd running back. He was their leading rusher this year.
628 yards on the ground for Tracy Ham this year, and he threw for 2,800 yards. First down from the BC 12 for the Eskimos. Ham throws, completes it to Sandusky. And he gets to the 4. Braswell and Drawhorn bring him down. Gain of 7 for Edmonton.
Not only are the Lions playing more aggressively in their defensive philosophy about going after the quarterback, but watching this short pass like this, watch how it draws a crowd. These guys in the white sweaters are going to the football, and quickly. Jeff Braswell especially.
Short yardage team in for the Eskimos. They take Sandusky out. Have extra blocking strength. Stu Hill splits to the left on 2nd down and 3. Now he comes inside. And Ham is going to look to throw in the end zone, wide open. Touchdown, Brett Williams.
The former BC Lion tackle, now Eskimo defensive tackle, turns tight end just for about 5 seconds. Great play action fake by the running backs to hold the secondary for that second. Williams comes off the line of scrimmage, puts a hit on somebody, and then slides off his man to the open. You don't think he wanted this one. Watch how they all come off. Good play action fake to Marshall, and you can see Williams just slide out in between a crack, catching the BC Lions defense kind of flat-footed. You know, when a situation like this occurs, as you see just a few Eskimo fans, someone has to fill a spot where he's going to leave. That's the faking back. He'll make like the fake, but the most important role is to get up in that hole and get in the way. And right there, what he does is he puts Bernie Clear on the ground, allows Tracy Ham just that much longer. As looks like Rod Conop there still on the ground, receiving some attention.
To me, Neil, in this very early going of the game, Tracy Ham has shown a lot of poise in, of course, running with the ball, but standing in the pocket 2 or 3 times, waiting for things to unfold. He looks like he's very sharp today.
You know, but I've always had the feeling that Tracy Ham, as Conop's on his feet and on the way to the sidelines, has been very comfortable. I mean, he doesn't seem to be bothered by pressure. I think if you go back into his history, he has never lost, amazingly so, a high school championship game, a college championship game, and he doesn't want his record blemished here.
Second-year quarterback of the Eskimos. Jerry Korik's convert was good, but there is a penalty flag. And it was against BC, so the convert will stand, and the Edmonton Eskimos have now gone in front of the BC Lions by 3 points.
In the last series, Rod Conop was taken off with a knee injury. They've cut the tape away from the knee. And athletic therapist Kenny Lowe has been putting him through a couple of strides to see if, in fact, the knee is strong enough to be able to return.
Corrick kicking off to Tony Cherry of the BC Lions. Cherry has a touchdown already on a pass from Dunnigan. And he brings the kickoff out to the BC 42-yard line. Plenty of action halfway through the opening quarter. Edmonton leading BC 10-7. The West final. The winner plays Winnipeg in the Grey Cup next Sunday in Ottawa.
Though David Williams has had an outstanding year, you asked Larry Donovan about who would be the MVP of his choice, and he said Matt Dunnigan would have to be right out there because of all the things he does.
First down handoff to Anthony Parker. He finds a good hole and works his way all the way to the Edmonton 51-yard line. Helping his progress was breaking a couple of tackles along the way.
Parker's forte, he doesn't worry too much about the moves. He just gets up in there, finds a gap, and then takes advantage of it.
17-yard gain. Sorry, Neil. Parker ran for 851 yards this year. Cherry for 889, and that 17-yard gain has the Lions in Edmonton territory at the 51. Dunnigan, lots of time, and throws no good. Intended for David Williams at the Edmonton 45-yard line.
Great play action fake, and that allowed Dunnigan, when he comes away from that fake, to literally sit back there. Of course, we didn't put a watch on him, but at least 4 or 5 seconds.
Brett Williams, who has scored a touchdown, the Edmonton touchdown, on a short yardage situation, and what a tremendous year he's had on that defensive line. 12 quarterback sacks. Their best player, the shotgun for Dunnigan on second down. Low snap, but he's able to bring it up and find David Williams at the 40. Hit very hard, but that'll be a BC first down.
BC Lions rarely go straight back in a drop back situation. David Williams this time comes off the ball, and he likes to explode, and that little, just 2 steps right there was enough to push Steve Benjamin off so he can come back, get to that first down marker, and get themselves a first down.
His 18 touchdowns during the regular season tied Brian Kelly's single season record. Kelly setting that in 1984 in a 16-game season. Dunnigan will run now on first down and will stay in bounds long enough to get close to a first down. The Edmonton Eskimo defense up front. Stu Hill, of course, back from the NFL, and Mumphrey is in there now. He has not played very much this year. Williams, the anchor. The linebacking crew, Danny Bass, a Shenley finalist, with Ruck and Warren on either side of him. And the secondary, as I said earlier, Howard and Tony playing against the Lions. They didn't in earlier games this season. And Don Wilson, their safety, the real intimidator. Second down and 2.5 to 3 yards at the Edmonton 33 for the Lions. Anthony Parker did not get close to it.
Unlike many offensive teams, the BC Lions choose to stay with the 2 running back situation in short yardage. Joe Farragelli waiting and not allowing the special teams to go in until he knows, in fact, what the Lions are going to do. Great job, left side of the line, looking at Alex Carter right now, controlling that in that particular play to stop the Lions.
So it's third down and between 2 and 3 from the Edmonton 32, and Lou Pasaglia will attempt a 39-yard field goal. There's very little wind here. What there is with Pasaglia on this kick. The distance is there, and so is the accuracy, and the game is tied at 10.
At halftime today of CFN's coverage of this West final, we will show you highlights of a big upset in the East as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers defeated the Toronto Argonauts. Sean Salisbury to James Murphy. That was the biggest offensive play of the game, and the Bombers beat the Argonauts.
Very few people thought Winnipeg had even a chance of winning in Toronto, and that final score, a stunner. Here at Commonwealth, 10-10. The Lions and Eskimos giving us, I think, pretty much what we expected. Just under 5 minutes left in the first quarter.
Well, you say they're giving us what we expected. We looked at some statistics yesterday, Bob, and we found that both these teams, the Lions and the Eskimos, have been slow starters. They have not, in the past, last 18 games for the 88 season, scored a lot of their points in the first quarter. So this is a little bit uncharacteristic.
I guess what I was getting at when I said what we expected was a close football game, although in the minds of many, the Lions are favored because of the way they ended the season. But to sell the Eskimos short is a mistake. The kickoff is Brett Williams returning up to the 51 or 52-yard line. Williams has really had his hands on the football a lot in this first quarter for a defensive lineman.
Well, that's a kick return for him, so we can call him a bit of a running back, his second to be exact. He's been a receiver and a defensive tackle. I guess we're going back to the old days where you play both ways.
Tracy Ham brings the Eskimos out at their 51-yard line. Williams wide right, Sandusky splits wide left. Rick House, 31, in motion to the left, and premature movement as the toss goes to Chris Johnstone around the right side. He got 2 or 3 yards, but somebody moved early. And it was the BC Lions. Neil, it doesn't look like there's any problem with the footing out there on that frozen field.
When I was down on the field beforehand.
Offside, BC 78, first down, repeat it.
Once again, the Lions, their third offside. The field was very, very hard. It's just like rock. The grass is in good shape, and the traction will come from the grass right now. When that starts to peel up, they might change some footwear.
1st and 5, Eskimos. Marshall carries inside the BC 50 down near the 47-yard line for an Edmonton first down.
As usual, Matt Dunnigan, when he comes off an offensive series, spends some time on the phone, get a quick chat with the offensive coordinator upstairs, Adam Rita, to see if in fact there's something they can do differently to be more effective.
You know, Dunnigan downplayed his return here for this game in a conversation with you beforehand, but you just have to believe there's a lot at stake for him personally in this game. Tracy Ham gets away from Quick Parker and 2 or 3 other BC Lions and is able to get back close to the line of scrimmage.
Well, it hadn't been for great effort. Tracy Ham is back even deeper. James Parker with his quick penetration. Even though it's a play action to one side, Parker's up the field and beats the block of the offensive lineman. Tracy Ham, in fact, can't get to the outside, and the good pursuit by Braswell and Stuman do bring him down for just a loss of about a yard.
Remarkable quickness by Tracy Ham. Second down and 11. Now at the BC 48 for Ham, who has Rick House open, but overthrows him just a little at the BC 35. And that will put the Eskimos into a 3rd down situation. 3 minutes to go in the opening quarter. The game is tied at 10.
As an offensive team prepares, as the Eskimos and the Lions have done this week, they usually don't change what they've been doing. But what they often will do is change their keys to try to mix up the defense. So the things that they've been doing on a consistent basis, they will try to throw a little bit of a screw in the plans to change up and mix up a defense.
Jerry Corrick with the 3rd best punting average in the CFL this season. Kicks it away from Drawhorn, who lets it go into the end zone. Drawhorn will pick it up. He's going to try to get it up, but won't succeed. And the Eskimos will take a 1-point lead, 11-10, with 2:43 left in the first quarter.
Jerry Corrick's had an awfully big week. Last Wednesday, his wife, Donna, gave birth to a 9-pound, 8-ounce little girl. Lauren Ashley is her name.
You know, Corrick's quite a story. Of course, so is Matt Dunnigan. Matt Dunnigan leads the BC offense back onto the field with that dynamic running combination. The wide receivers with David Williams, terrific year. And the offensive line. Gerald Roper is the leader there. Larry Donovan raves about the season he's had. Dunnigan throwing that hit screen, intending it for Streeter, but poorly thrown ball by Dunnigan and nowhere near Streeter.
The ball just got away from him a little bit. Matt Dunnigan, you'll see he'll step right to it, but the ball came off the end of the fingers. The follow through wasn't there, and therefore it came off like a bit of a duck and over Streeter's head. But better to be over his head than too far upfield and where the defenders are coming up and could possibly pick it off.
And they've ruled it was a lateral. The pass was thrown from Dunnigan to Streeter, who was behind Dunnigan, so they've called it a lateral. 6-yard loss for the Lions. 2nd down and 16 from their 29. Dunnigan is intercepted at the 50 of the Eskimos. Don Wilson with the ball.
I think if you're looking for the perfect safety, you might look at Don Wilson. He has great size, great mobility and quickness. He'll hit you like a ton of bricks. And right now, he's playing center field. You saw Danny Bass go straight back. Don Wilson went to the flow to the one side, and when the ball was thrown, he simply reacted.
Wilson had 7 interceptions this season to lead the Edmonton Eskimos. The pass intended for Carinci, but was overthrown. Marshall on a first down carry has some room and runs over people to the BC 45.
One thing I think defensive backs will learn, not to hit Blake Marshall above the waist. You'll see right here, he gets through, and a good job. Great block by Bill Stevenson to kick the guy out. But Ryan comes up and hits Marshall in the shoulders, and it just doesn't work.
And Tracy Ham's first down pass was right on the letter, but Jim Sandusky dropped it. For Sandusky and Matt Dunnigan involved in that big preseason trade, which hasn't been completed. The Eskimos will get to choose a couple of players off the Lions roster sometime after the season. A minute 20 to go, first quarter, 10-10 the score. Eskimos 2nd and 10, BC 45-yard line. Ham throws to Gizmo Williams. He's corked and can't hang on. Keith Gooch putting it to Henry Williams.
Gooch moving up very quickly. Williams has to get off the ground to catch it. And in fact, the contact after the ball is hit Williams is really what jars him loose. Keith Gooch respecting Williams and playing off a bit, but coming up very quickly.
There's always a lot of hard hitting in every football game, but playoff teams, there's just a little bit more, isn't there?
Well, sure, everyone's cranked.
Jerry Korick on 3rd down and 10 will kick as we look from the BC end zone. And Korick lifts up beauty. Drawhorn with it. Anthony Drawhorn has some room. Cut down at the Lion 28-yard line. One of the new faces, the many new faces on the BC team, Anthony Drawhorn. They have 20 players on their roster who weren't with them last year.
Drawhorn gets them out in good field position and might have gone a lot further if it hadn't been for 45 Mike McLean, and that affords Matt Dunnigan a little bit more room and flexibility in the plays that he would call than if he was down on his 2-yard line.
Dunnigan with a lot to say in that huddle. Brings the Lions out at their 22 with a 1st and 10. He has 3 wide receivers left and dumps it off to Anthony Parker. Parker works his way up to about the 33 for a gain of maybe 6.
Screenplay to try to get some of the pressure as Anthony Drawhorn takes a bit of a break. Well-deserved. He does a good job of returning punts. Not the same type of punt returner that Larry Crawford is.
Well, there aren't many who are the same type or as good as Larry Crawford. 2nd down and 4. Lions at their 33.5. Barring a penalty, this will be the final play of the opening quarter. Tony Cherry has the ball on a screen, and he's hit hard, but he gets a 1st down up to the BC. And the first quarter ends. Eskimos lead by 1. 4 minutes, 26 seconds left in the first half of the West Final at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton. The Eskimos scored on their first 3 possessions of the game, have not scored on their last 2. Tracy Ham will try to change that trend now. 1st and 10 from the Edmonton 50-yard line. And a running play gains the Eskimos 4 or 5.
Johnstone running out of that halfback spot. The luxury of having Chris Johnstone and Blake Marshall in that backfield at the same time is they're both about 225 pounds. Johnstone 6'3", and when he hits up in there, he's going to make something happen, whether you hit him or not.
2nd down for the Eskimos near center field. 6 yards to go, about 5.5 maybe. Ham throws to Sandusky, complete at the 44 of the Lions. Andre Francis right there. Excellent timing on that completion.
The ball thrown before Sandusky makes his cut and comes back. if anyone knows the tendencies of Jim Sandusky, it should be Andre Francis, who's practiced against him for years. Good throw by Tracy Ham and great timing, as you see Francis trying to even strip that ball away when he's down on the ground.
Sandusky caught 55 for 1,089 yards and 8 touchdowns this season. And has put the Eskimos at the BC 43. Ham sprinting out to his left. Parker is giving chase. So is Konar, and Ham will run out of bounds at the 39 of the Lions after gaining in the area of 5 yards.
Shows you Ham's ability, and probably making the right decision at that time there to sprint out and not throw the ball when there was no place to throw it to.
This CFN playoff game is brought to you by Foster's.
Points over the Edmonton Eskimos. BC in front, Tom. What do they have to do to stay there? Does that change anything?
A couple of things, Dave. They need to have discipline and poise in this second half. I think they have to continue to mix the run with the pass. And third, and maybe mostly, contain Tracy Ham. And that is easier said than done.
Matt Dunnigan doesn't want to throw any more interceptions, although he wasn't hurt too badly by the 2 in the first half. For what the Eskimos might try to do in the second half, Bob Irving and Neil Lumpton.
Well, Dave, I sensed a bit of a momentum change toward the end of the first half in Edmonton's favor. Neil, your thoughts on that?
I'd have to agree with it. I think Edmonton is putting some things together, again, maybe on the heels of Tracy Ham. If he can deliver and get upfield, he can change the defense and how they may view him. If he starts to move towards the line of scrimmage and then releases the ball downfield, they could have a big one from that. But I think he will set the tempo in the second half for the Eskimos.
Tracy Ham, in many respects, a one-man show for the Edmonton Eskimos in that first half. Statistically, very even, slight edge to the Lions in total yards. 2 turnovers by BC, and you see the time of possession almost identical. And we have a 2-point football game. 17-15, the BC Lions leading the Edmonton Eskimos. And the second half is underway with a Lion kickoff, and this is Stephen Jones, and he brings it back to the 40, maybe the 41-yard line.
Jones returning the kickoff.
Today's CFN game from Edmonton is brought to you by Carling O'Keefe, brewers of Foster's Lager, and Priority Post EMS Courier, your better business connection in Canada and around the world. Third quarter at Commonwealth just underway. Eskimos 1st and 10 from their 43. Tracy Ham fumbles the ball. This time he couldn't get away from the rush. The ball came loose. The Lions have it at the 25 of the Eskimos, and Tracy Ham is injured.
James Parker with the ball in his hand. He's done this a number of times. Watch how slowly Tracy Ham slows right down here to try to sell the fake. But he didn't sell it to Kevin Konar to the front side. More importantly, backside rush by Stuman. They sandwich him, and James Parker comes up with the football. See Stuman come to the backside. Parker's reacting to the fake. Just for a second he held, then he moved to the football, and probably a smart move, not trying to kick the ball. He just made sure he had it, and he still got it.
Well, recovering fumbles, nothing new for James Parker. He recovered 5 during the regular season, tops in the CFL, and he has a big one here. Just 28 seconds into the second half, Tracy Ham up and leaving the field under his own power and holding his midsection.
Even with that flak jacket or rib pads on, he took a heck of a shot, and you can see he's feeling the effects right now. Just got to hope it was only having the wind knocked out of him.
Well, Ham has had a terrific football game, but that time he was caught in an open switch. One of the men hitting him, Greg Stuman, who's just had another wonderful year for the Lions. Damon Allen will warm up in case Ham can't go back in, and the Lions will try to capitalize on this turnover. Dunnigan for Tony Cherry, diving, couldn't quite get the ball.
Matt Dunnigan going for it all at once. This gives the BC Lions a great opportunity to sink a nail in, go that much further ahead, and take advantage of what the opportunity is as presented to them. And I think more than anything, Matt Dunnigan doesn't want to come away with 3 points here. He wants 6.
Dunnigan hooked up with Cherry on a 73-yard scoring play. Will he look for David Williams this time? Williams has caught some short passes, but we haven't seen him go deep. 2nd and 10 at the 25. Dunnigan, big pressure, and he tries to get it out to Cherry, but too much heat on Dunnigan, and he could not connect with Tony Cherry, and the Lions will have to settle for a field goal attempt.
Not only great heat on Dunnigan, but Danny Bass in the middle read his keys as he does so well and went with Cherry. He was just right beside him all the way.
Lou Pisaglia will have a very slight favoring wind. There was a moderate breeze when the game began, and it has dropped off, and Pisaglia will try from the 32, and he has it through there. It's now a 6-point Edmonton lead. Make it a 5-point lead at 20-15. A minute and a half into the 3rd quarter.
Eskimos will feel good about escaping that situation with only 3 against them. Tracy Ham walking around seems to be all right. And I'm sure we'll see him back at the quarterback spot very shortly, even though Damon Allen continues to keep warming up.
Well, the Eskimos, Neil, missed a field goal from the 24 and then had to settle for one from the 12 late in the 2nd quarter. They couldn't seize a great opportunity, and here the Lions can't fully seize a great opportunity. And it's a 5-point game with the Lions ahead 20-15.
I think when it's all over, one of these teams will look back and say, that was the opportunity we didn't take advantage of, and that's the one that hurt us.
Stephen Jones with a kickoff return. Of course, the reason that neither team was able to seize those opportunities is the defenses they're playing against.
Still at quarterback, Tracy Ham for the Eskimos. Must have just been simply the wind having been knocked out of him.
Well, Joe Ferragelli, of course, has said all week that he would have no reluctance at all to go to Damon Allen if the situation presented itself. But as long as Tracy Ham is healthy, you'd have to think he'll stay in this game based on the way he's played so far. He finds Rick House, and House is battered into the BC end of the field down to their 54-yard line, but takes with him an Edmonton 1st down.
Well thrown football, and it had to be with the motion coming to one side with Blake Marshall going to the flat. The middle linebacker goes to the flow. Watch Tracy Ham. 3 steps and then zings the ball, but he almost reacted a little bit funny, like his shoulder's still a little sore or cramp in the back.
Grab for his right shoulder. He hands off to Johnstone on 1st down. Johnstone across the BC 50 into the 49 for a gain of 5. Well, these fans at Commonwealth Stadium couldn't ask, well, I guess you can always ask for a better day, but given the time of year, -2 Celsius at game time, a football fan in this part of the world would be very happy with that.
It's like a heat wave.
2nd down and 5. Eskimos at the BC 48. Ham with time throws a little high for the intended receiver and incomplete. Sincar going up, but well covered by Marcus Thomas, the man who's replacing Larry Crawford.
I've been impressed today by the way the BC Lions, especially their secondary, have been timing their hits. Marcus Thomas, Keith Gooch, really giving the receivers, be it Marco Sincar or Rick House, a good jarring when the ball just gets to them. That's a tough thing to do, because the one thing you don't want to do is get an interference call.
We'll watch Jerry Corrick kick from the end zone. The ball scrimmaged at the BC 48. And a good rush. Corrick gets it away. It'll bounce. Good bounce for the Eskimos. Fielded at the 10-yard line by Drawhorn. And he finds some room up to about the 21. This CFL playoff game is a Foster's Lager telecast on the Canadian Football Network. Edmonton quarterback Tracy Ham hit hard and shaken up early in the 2nd half. Appears to be okay along the sidelines.
The last couple of minutes while we were in break, he's gone to every receiver, this time Henry Williams, before that Jim Sandusky, and has been discussing certain situations.
11:45 left, 3rd quarter. The BC Lions lead 20-15. 1st down from their 20. The toss to Tony Cherry. And he won't get away from Stuart Hill and Brian Warren.
There's that pursuit that the Eskimo coaching staff, specifically the defense, was talking about. Don't give Cherry a chance to get in a gap and an opening where he can do his stuff. Right there, he had to slow down because of Stuart Hill. And look at them, just like pin cushions. Pop, coming to the ball carrier. That's the way they're going to have to play against Cherry and Parker.
One of the things that Cherry said before this game was if the Eskimos are going to beat us, they'll have to play a perfect game. Well, that was close to perfect defense. Dunnigan on second down swings it out, but it's knocked away by Stuart Hill.
An outstanding defensive play by Hill. He comes off the football, but he reads and reacts to what's going on. It doesn't stay along the line. Now he dives and breaks that play up. And if he doesn't do that, Cherry's got some blockers out in front of him and some potential yardage to cover.
't what you call flying around, isn't it? Stu Hill, the defensive star of last year's Grey Cup game. Third down and 12. Lions at their 18. Bisaglia will kick. And it's a good kick. Tom Richards at the Edmonton 52. Across center field, and he gets into BC territory. They push him out at the Lion 54-yard line. 10.5 minutes left. Third quarter. Lions ahead by 5.
You know, the last couple times BC's had the ball, I don't see the same spring in their step. The confidence, has that been shattered a little bit by the Eskimo defense? And has it transferred over to this man, Tracy Ham, and the Eskimo offensive team?
Well, maybe this drive, Neil, will give us some clues to that. Ham and company start from the BC 54. Ham with time, and now he loses that time and loses the football. But the Eskimos were able to get it back. Stuman and Mac Moore were in the backfield. But fortunately for Edmonton, they also had two of their players there to recover.
Tracy Ham goes straight back to about a 6.5 yard drop. But Stuman flying in there just knocks the ball loose.
Matt Dunnigan and the BC Lions with a 5-point lead. Second down for the Eskimos. 16 yards to go from there. 49. Ham steps up, looks for Sandusky, but throws it short. Sandusky diving back, but the ball bounced, and the Eskimos will have to send it back to the Lions.
Ball coming up a little bit short. Ham looking now to the backside to Jim Sandusky.
Jerry Korix had a very good day punting the ball. He figured to give Edmonton a slight edge based on the season with a better punting average than Lou Bisaglia, but it had been a major factor. Big rush, and Korix just got it away. And it bounces to Drawhorn, who's hit hard and down at the BC 29, 30-yard line. 9:22 left. We're in the third quarter of the West Final at Commonwealth Stadium. West Final and lost. We have 5:45 left in the third quarter today at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton, and the BC Lions are 4 points ahead of the Eskimos, 20-16. The winner to meet the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the Grey Cup game in Ottawa next Sunday.
You ask one of the Lions about that string, and you think it's pretty formidable, and they say, yeah, but it's also time to get broken.
Law of averages would be working in BC's favor. Tony Cherry trying to turn the corner, can't. Got maybe a yard. Larry Ruck and Danny Bass ran him down.
You know, for many years, the Eskimos have always been blessed, I guess you could say, with great linebacking, Canadian in particular. You know, for many years, Dan Kepley roamed the middle. He was flanked by two very good ones, Dale Potter and Tommy Towns, and I think they found another one like that in Larry Ruck.
Gain of 2 for Cherry. Second down and 8. Lions at their 37. Dunnigan runs the quarterback draw and gets only to the 41, 4 yards away from the first down marker.
With the turf the way it is, and as hard as it is, you have to be very careful in your first step. You can't be too aggressive or you'll slip, and I think that's why we're not seeing Matt Dunnigan take off as he used to explode as if he was on artificial turf, because you're just afraid that first step, that lead step, will slip and you'll fall on your face.
Well, Dunnigan appeared to have quite an opening that time when he took off, but the Eskimos closed it very quickly. Third down and 4. Lions at their 41. Bisaglia gets a good kick away, angling it for the sidelines. Good looking kick, but they're going to mark it out of bounds. Back up around the Edmonton 50-yard line, I think at the 48. 4:44 to go, third quarter. Lions up by 4 points.
Well, the Eskimos have had possession of the ball in good field position for the second half. And I'm sure they're saying to themselves, it's about time we do something about it and take advantage.
Edmonton 1st and 10 from its own 48. Tracy Ham brings the Eskimos out. All kinds of motion in that Edmonton backfield, and then the handoff goes to Blake Marshall, who gains about 5. Mike Riley, the head coach of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, is with us after the Bombers' upset win over Toronto in the East Final. Mike, and congratulations. Tell us how you feel about it.
Well, we feel pretty good about it, really. It's a great day for the Bombers, and I'm happy for all the people in our organization and for the people in Winnipeg.
Mike, congratulations. And to me, the key was your offensive line. What a great job of protection. And Salisbury getting the ball off in 2 and 3 steps.
Yeah, they did. Our offensive line did a great job, and our defensive front did a great job. You know, we talked about before the game that those 2 parts of the game had to be good for us. And for those guys to play like they did, give us time, and then get the pressure on defense is very important.
Mike, to hold the Argos to just over 100 yards in total offense would have to have exceeded even your expectations.
Yeah, a little bit. Our guys got after them, and I think the game started out, we got some confidence moving the football, and then our defense got some confidence in stopping them, and it just built on itself. And we got the great play in the special teams again on blocking the punt. All those things worked together for good.
I noticed they were also very effective, they being your defensive front, of jumping up and knocking the ball down before it even passed the line of scrimmage.
We got good pressure, and the guys got up the field. Michael Gray and, of course, Romel Andrews, who we put outside as like a rush end or linebacker. All those guys did a good job. Willie Fears and Stan Mikulis just kept rolling.
Mike, the Eskimos and Lions are hooked up in quite a game here. Your thoughts on who you might be playing next Sunday?
I don't know. We'll just wait and see. We're just happy to be there, and we'll just start getting ready for whoever wins the ball game. It looks like a great one, though.
Congratulations to Mike Riley and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers for winning the East Final 27-11 over the Toronto Argonauts. Here at Commonwealth, 2nd and 10, Eskimos. Tracy Ham throws a little high. Intended for Tom Richards, the intended receiver.
Ham got exactly what he wanted on that play. The middle opening up, Richards working to the inside on Thomas, but he knows he threw the ball just a little bit too high.
And Jerry Korick is on the punt. Korick has missed a couple of field goals today that right now seem significant. Damon Allen warming up, staying loose at the Edmonton bench. Korick with some pressure, but gets the kickoff. And it'll go out of bounds around the BC 24-yard line. 2.5 minutes left, third quarter, with the score BC 20, Edmonton 16. Let's pause 10 seconds for stations from coast to coast to identify themselves. You're watching the Canadian Football Network.
Jerry Corrick punt was out of bounds on the 22-yard line. 26-yard punt. Will return.
BC Lions from their 22.5-yard line. Matt Dunnigan rolling left, throwing wide open. Carinci up at the 39. Catch by Jan Carinci was the BC Lions' first down of the second half. They're now at their 40, and a flag goes down as Anthony Parker carries for 3 yards up the middle.
We noticed earlier after Ham had come out with an injury, then gone back in, he had looked kind of funny after he had thrown the football, and he still seems to be favoring that elbow as the Eskimos are called offside. And Damon Allen, who Joe Farraghelli has all the confidence in the world in, continues to warm up. Jacket's still on, but I don't know. I think there's a chance we might see him.
Damon Allen came off the bench in the Grey Cup game last year and was outstanding after Matt Dunnigan was hurt, leading the Eskimos to victory. He's had a horrible season, has Allen. Injuries. When he's been healthy, he hasn't produced. But we may see him here this afternoon. First down. It's a reverse to Streeter. And he has room. Down to the Edmonton 42-yard line, Eric Streeter.
That play nicely set up, almost completely destroyed by penetration by Mandrich. Watch, you'll see him come through just behind the play, just out of the outstretched arms. Then Streeter heads to the sidelines. Good blocking downfield. Don Wilson really is the only man between Streeter and the goal line.
23-yard run by Eric Streeter on a reverse, and the Lions are at the Eskimo 42-yard line. Donegan with pressure gets it away, and it's completed for a loss of 5 or 6 yards. Anthony Parker, if he had that to do over, may not catch the football.
The Eskimos have done a good job today by pressuring Matt Donegan and seeming to know when he wants to throw the screen or throw it short. This time it's John Mandrich who said before the game started, it's time we played nasty defense.
Nickname is Mean Mood, Juice, among other things. John Mandrich. Third down and 16. Last play of the quarter, barring a penalty. Donegan scrambling around, gets away and throws it deep. But it's no good down at the Eskimo 10-yard line. Stanley Blair with excellent coverage. The third quarter is complete here at Commonwealth. The Lions lead by 4.
Watching from one end zone, we have the feeling that the team that can put it into this end zone or that end zone can have a big lift and maybe win the game.
Well, you know, offense sells tickets, Dave, but defense wins championships. And the way these two teams are going after each other in the second half, it's been all defense. A great football game.
A lot of missed opportunities in the third quarter.
Defenses have taken over, gentlemen. It was 17-15 BC at halftime. It's now 20-16 BC. The fourth quarter begins with the Lions punting and Gizmo Williams catching. And he gets back to the 30-yard line of the Edmonton Eskimos. And Tracy Ham stays in the game at quarterback for Edmonton. We saw Damon Allen warming up just moments ago, but Tracy Ham, who was hit hard early in the second half and shaken up, will stay in there. This is the second time in the game that Wes Cooper has left the field in pain.
I think as a coach, you would prefer to keep the guy that's been in the game, has the feeling, and knows what's going on around him in, unless it was absolutely necessary to make the change. Right now, I think Tracy Ham still has a pretty good handle on things, as Wes Cooper's in considerable discomfort there, his left shoulder.
Eskimos from their 30. Marshall carrying for 3 or 4 off the left side. It was Chris Johnstone. Marshall leading the blockers through there as Wes Cooper is attended to.
Well, the Eskimos have had the luxury with that 2-week break of getting everyone healthy. The little nicks and bruises that were accumulated over the 18-game season were able to get a bit of a break. So Joe Ferrigo is quite happy that they are as healthy as they've been since the start of the year.
It's one of the great benefits of that 2-week break. Ham on 2nd and 6 throws for Williams, and it's tipped away. Actually intended for House. I thought it was for Williams, who was a little further downfield. But Rick House, coming across the field, went after the ball and couldn't catch it.
House looking for inside position. Again, that little motion, he's going to give that move to the out, then get to the inside, and that ball's just overthrown by a hair. He had good position and had the man beaten. But you're right, unusual to see 2 receivers that close together.
The times that Tracy Ham has missed on his passes today, most times he has been very, very close. Corey kicking on 3rd down, and he gets a very good punt away. Down to the 30. This is Drawhorn. Anthony Drawhorn fumbles the ball. Eskimos have it. Foster's is a proud sponsor of CFN and its playoff and Grey Cup coverage. Edmonton Eskimos from their 51 after a fumble by Drawhorn on a punt return. Tracy Ham flushed from the pocket. Rick Ryan giving chase and forces him out of bounds at the BC 52-yard line, but a gain of 7, close to 8 for Ham.
Strawhorn's been effective returning punts, but keep an eye on that left side. That ball's coming out. Pierre Verscheval just simply goes for the tackle where the ball is and continues pulling down. And Danny Kearns, defensive lineman, comes up big with the ball. And there's the offensive group for the BC Lions wanting to get back on. They've been on the sidelines for a while. They're getting a little cold.
3 turnovers by the Lions to 1 for Edmonton. And yet BC still leading the game 20-16. Rick Ryan was injured on that tackle of Tracy Ham, favoring an ankle, it appears.
Ryan up awfully close in that last defensive set. He was up near the middle linebacker spot. Larry Donovan's concerned. We'll probably see number 32 Todd Wiseman take that safety position spot.
Well, next Sunday we'll have the Grey Cup game on CFN starting at 1 Eastern time with game day. The winner of this game will play the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The Bombers are at the Toronto airport right now watching to see who they'll be meeting in the 76th Grey Cup contest in Ottawa next Sunday. Watching, and I suspect in a euphoric state after knocking off the Toronto Argonauts 27-11 in the East final, a result that nobody expected. Not that one-sided, at least. Edmonton second down and about 3.5 from the BC 52.5. That's Chris Skinner carrying the ball. Haven't seen much of him today. And he comes up a little bit short of the first down.
And short of a helmet. All he's got left is his mouth guard. Nothing fancy. Certainly Marshall leading up inside to kick out the linebacker. And just a good solid hit by Konar.
Well, the Eskimos are left with 3rd and almost 2 yards to go, and they are not going to go for it. So they will not take advantage of the Drawhorn fumble, except in the respective field position.
Exactly. I think Cork could get himself a good punt here. He can put BC back within inside their 20 and make it an awful long way for them to go to get any points.
And Torek takes his time as there wasn't much of a rush. Does not get a good kick away. Tried to angle it out of bounds, it looked like. Well, he got it out of bounds, but not anywhere near where he wanted to.
That's the way to be in.
Larry Donovan liked it.
Larry Donovan said to us yesterday that one of the biggest changes that the BC Lions have gone through in the last part of the season is that their football team they're having fun playing the game. It's not just a job to them. He says that is an overflow, and you can see that in their performance.
That's only a 17-yard kick by Jerry Corrick. And so the Lions escape from being pinned deep in their own end, and they're at their 33 as Dunnigan puts it up long. There's nobody there except Don Wilson, and he dropped the ball. The Eskimo safety dropped the football and can't believe it. Neither can I.
Well, when Dunnigan throws this ball, Don Wilson is still playing center field. Wilson will move with the formation and come over, but Dunnigan simply throws it to an area where there was no receiver, or he was hoping that Streeter would get to. And that simply hit him in the wrong spot, his hands.
Now Wilson won't want to look at that one again on film. He may be forced to. Second down and 10. Lions got away with one. Dunnigan throws, and it's no good. Intended for a diving Scott Leckie, it looked like. And he couldn't bring it in, so the Lions are going to have to kick it away. 11:51 left, fourth quarter. BC 20, Edmonton 16.
Scott Leckie made a heroic attempt at that ball stretching out, but wasn't able to grasp it. And as this game goes along with 11:51 left, you're wondering who's going to come up with the big play to change things around. Both offenses are being dictated and controlled by opposing defenses.
Lions from their 33, 3rd and 10. Pasaglia stands back on his 19. Good snap. End over end kick. Henry Williams steps out of bounds around the Edmonton 51-yard line. Good field position for the Eskimos, who are down by 4 with 11:27 to go. Moved the ball well in the first half, but in the second half, the Eskimos only have 4 first downs, and the BC Lions only have 2. We have 11:20 left in the fourth quarter. Eskimos 1st and 10 from their 50 after a punt by Pasaglia. Tracy Ham has Skinner open at the 51. And he got to the 53 for a gain of 2 or 3 yards for the Eskimos. But the yards have been very difficult to come by for either offensive team in the second half.
And we're seeing the Eskimos inject into the game some fresh legs. Chris Skinner, who didn't start the game, Marshall and Johnstone did. But Skinner, who has been known to be able to bounce off some hits and turn an average gain into a big one. Maybe Joe Farragilli is looking for that freshness now to make a difference.
Skinner and Marshall are set in behind Tracy Ham on 2nd down. But Ham wants to put it up and then slips out of the pocket and is to the BC 25.
Hey, you want to talk about slipping out of the pocket? You're going to see a great view and angle right here of what he has to go between. Just one quick step and boom, he's upfield and going. Sincar working hard downfield, 27, giving him a block on Ryan.
Well, he just exploded up the field. And has the Eskimos at the Lion 25, a 32-yard run by Tracy Ham. And this is Chris Skinner carrying and fighting for yards. Gets down to the Lion 21.5 for a gain of close to 4.
Taken out by Jeff Braswell. Skinner having an up and down season, really bothered by a turf toe injury. Finally healthy in the last few games. But when you look in the backfield of the Eskimos, any one of the people dressed, Walling, Marshall, Johnstone, or Skinner, can play a big part in the outcome of this one.
2nd down, Eskimos, 6 yards to go at the BC 21-yard line. Lions ahead by 4 points. 9.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And a flag comes down just as Ham took the snap from center, and I believe the Eskimos will be called for a time count violation.
Time count foul. Number 8, Edmonton. 2nd down, repeat it.
In a situation where you know you might have to call an audible, you've got to get the team in and out of the huddle with at least 12 seconds on that 20-second clock, so you have time to make an adjustment or change the play, as Ham tried to do.
Joe Farragilli could see the time winding away. Tracy Ham now will be 2nd down and almost 12 yards to go. Fumbles the ball on the exchange from center. No signal yet, except from players. And it looks like the Eskimos got it back.
Ham pulling away from behind Rod Conniff, the center. Really started the movement of the offensive team, but was not right on the count. Watch him come out here. He just came out a little bit early.
Perhaps predictable to see that just after you get called for a time count. You want to make sure you're not slow. Moved a little quickly. 35-yard field goal try by Jerry Corrick. Has the distance, and it's good. And it is now BC 20 and Edmonton 18 with 19. Make that with 9:05 left in the fourth quarter. Jerry Corrick has just kicked a 35-yard field goal.
This is really the only way he can get some of his frustrations out after he's missed a couple that he felt he should have had.
And he will now kick off after that field goal, making this a one-point football game with the Lions still in front. Drawhorn bringing it back, picking his way nicely out across the 45, close to the 50 of the Lions. Let's go to Dave Hodge and Tom Larscheid for their thoughts.
It's hard not to be repetitive, but the Eskimos are getting field goals instead of touchdowns, or singles instead of field goals. You get the feeling Edmonton should be ahead, but they're not.
Well, you know, David, this is like a heavyweight championship bout. A great champion and a worthy challenger, and this one should go down to the final minute of the game. It's been an outstanding football game.
Bob?
That has been a terrific game. Tony Cherry trying to get around that right side and has to leap the Edmonton bench to avoid injury. Gained 5 or 6, ran a long way to get those yards. And and he's run a long way many times this afternoon.
I think for the Lions to get their offense back in gear, they will look to, and have in many other circumstances, Anthony Parker and Tony Cherry.
Second and 5, BC, the ball on their own 53.
Second down for the Lions. They have 5 yards to go. The ball is at their 53. Quick pass, the hitch screen to David Williams, who gets away from one Eskimo, and that enabled him to get to the Edmonton 50 and pick up the first down for the Lions.
David Williams has been quiet because of good coverage, but they get the ball to him in a quick screen. Quick step and then back behind the line of scrimmage. Carinci, 27, goes to kick the corner out. Williams comes back inside. Gets the first down.
8:09 left, fourth quarter, 20-19. BC leading. You can see the clock. It's down to 8 now inside 8 minutes. Dunnigan throwing long down the seam. Leckie, terrific catch to the Edmonton 8-yard line.
And a terrific throw. You know what Scott Leckie does here? He runs down the field and does not put his arms out to catch the football until the ball's there. He keeps his speed up, and then, bingo, the hands come out and cradle the ball down. He maximizes his speed and doesn't slow himself down by running with his arms in the air.
Well, if you play on this BC team and you're not David Williams or Dunnigan or James Parker, you maybe don't get much said about you. Leckie caught 52 passes this year. Steady inside guy and a big catch there. Dunnigan for David Williams. Touchdown, Lions.
And always one of the first men over to congratulate any receiver, but especially Dave Williams, is Matt Dunnigan, as you saw.
Well, and that comes with 7:13 left in the fourth quarter.
You can't take away anything from Stanley Blair in his coverage. He's in the hip pocket of Williams, but Williams has the advantage of watching the quarterback as he turns back. Stanley Blair knows if he turns back too soon, he will be lost.
Well, David Williams comes up big, but what great throws by Dunnigan to Leckie, who made a wonderful catch. And then Williams and Dunnigan, who hasn't done a lot in the second half. Boom, boom, and the Lions are in the end zone. And now have a 27-19 lead. 7:13 to go in the fourth quarter.
This loop pass, as I call it, strictly timing. Matt Dunnigan throws it to an area, usually in trying to get to over the outside shoulder of the defensive back. And I think the reaction will tell the story. They've had success with this before. Matt Dunnigan sees why not now. This brings an interesting situation up. The lead is 8 points. If the Eskimos can get back down with lots of time left, do they go for a 1 or 2 point conversion?
Neil, you and I talked about David Williams before the game. What sort of a role would he have to play? Could they win with the running game or whatever? Not many yards, but a couple of key catches, one for a first down in this drive and that one for the touchdown. So sometimes you measure a contribution by something other than sheer statistics. And there's Matt Dunnigan, under 50%. But the way the game has unfolded, he's played very well, I would say. Gizmo Williams with a football and with room. And to the Lion, 51-yard line.
We last saw Tracy Ham on the sidelines, and his shoulder was being examined, but it was his left shoulder. Shouldn't affect his throwing motion too much, though I'm sure if it is bothering him, the pain will be the thing that will get in the way.
And at this stage, Joe Faragelli has obviously made a decision. If he had any thoughts earlier of going to Damon Allen, Tracy Ham is the quarterback of record for the Eskimos. Don't think we'd see it change now other than for injury. Less than 7 minutes to go. BC ahead by 8 points. But the Eskimos at the BC 51. Drop play. Marshall has 3 to the Lion 48.
You brought up the point about David Williams and the statistics, and all players, when they're on the field, don't worry and concern themselves with how many yards and how many catches. It's the input and the involvement that they've had in the success of be it an offensive or defensive team. we often put a little bit too much emphasis on it. They don't concern themselves with it.
Second down and 7. The Eskimos, the ball on the BC 48.
Second down and 7. Eskimos, Lion 48, 6:15 to go. The clock runs. Tracy Ham looks for a receiver, and he runs. Gets to the Lion 40 for a first down for the Eskimos.
And gets himself out of bounds. That will stop the clock. Tracy Ham quite willing to go out of the pocket on his own when he not necessarily is flush, but when he sees an opportunity to maybe threaten the line of scrimmage to pull the defense off the coverage. As number 27, Marco Sinkar, comes in with a little bit of advice from the sidelines.
Well, the defending Grey Cup champs are staggered at this stage, but they're not finished by a long shot. First and 10 at the BC 40. Lions up by 8. And it's a reverse to Henry Williams, who's in big trouble and down back at center field.
Greg Stuman, the outstanding defensive player for the Lions this year, adjusting to that linebacker spot, comes upfield and does not bite on the fake. And this isn't an easy task, being put into a situation where you have to chase down Henry Williams, but he not only chases him down, he pins him down.
Stuman, because of the way they played him this year, hasn't had the big numbers. And again, we talk about numbers, sacks and all that, but what a terrific player he's been, and what a play that was.
Be it rush end or linebacker, he is an impact player, as we see a quick kick
by Marco Sinkar on 2nd and 25. When was the last time you saw that, folks? And a no yards penalty goes down as Rick Ryan brings the football back. 4 minutes and 57 seconds left in the 4th quarter. Eskimos down by 8, and Joe Farragelli goes for a quick kick and doesn't get the result he wanted.
Well, he's also pointing out it shouldn't be no yards. He thought the 2 downfield were onside.
There's no infraction on the play. Number 2 was an onside player. First down, BC.
A little bit of motion. Henry Williams and Tom Richards, as you will see right there behind the quarterback, don't go past where Marco Sinkar's kicking the ball from until the ball's kicked. Now, that's not kicked to try to get distance. It's kicked to an area where Williams and Sinkar, Richards, can get to it quickly. Ryan, very quick in the uptake, got to it first.
Sinkar, a punter at the University of Alberta. As you say, Neil, the intent there was to recover the football and not to kick the Lions deep. BC comes out of it in good shape. 1st and 10 at their 40. And this is Tony Cherry. And look at him go. Cherry runs for 18 in a big BC gain. That's the longest run of the day for Tony Cherry, and that time he showed all of those skills that we have talked about him possessing.
After the hit, he goes right to the bench. As you can see, he'll be replaced by Reggie Taylor, but this is what makes him so good. He hits up in there. The Eskimos have that area well defended, but because of his quickness, he gets to the outside, and he takes a heck of a hit here by Don Wilson, but not until he's made the first down.
And again, 12 carries, 52 yards, pretty mediocre day, but the significance of some of those yards lost in just the pure numbers. Anthony Parker carrying for 6 yards on first down to the Edmonton 45. 3:50 left, 4th quarter. The clock is running. The Lions are up by 8.
And the script for the Lions right now has to be to try to have success as Tony Cherry comes back into the ball game of running the football. Chew the clock up, try to beat on the Eskimo defense, and ultimately come away with 7 points.
2nd down and 3 for the Lions at the Edmonton 45. This is Tony Cherry, and he gets only a yard. Brett Williams. Made the stop for the Eskimos, and now it's 3rd down and 3 for the Lions. Who will send out Louis Pasaglia. They will not attempt a very long field goal, which would give them an 11-point lead if they could make it. But that's a little bit outside of Pasaglia's range at this stage of his career, a 51-yarder, so they're just going to punt them deep.
I think the strategy right here is to kick the ball to a corner and try to put the Eskimos in the worst field position they possibly can.
Eskimos do have 2 men back. Pasaglia bobbles the snap a little, but gets the kick away. And it'll bounce out at the Edmonton 15-yard line. And the Lions will like that. We have 3:01 to go. Foster's and CFN bringing you the best of the CFL all the way to the Grey Cup. A meeting at their bench right now. It's up to the BC defense to do the job. If you're a Lion fan, if you're an Eskimo supporter, you want Tracy Ham and company to turn it loose. First down, Eskimos from their 15. Ham throws and completes over the middle to Rick House. 2:50 left. BC leading 27-19, and that gives Edmonton some room to work.
Ham recognizing what the BC Lions defense is giving him. I think the key here will the receivers of Eskimos and Tracy Ham adjust to the openings that the Lions do give them.
Eskimos go without a huddle. Ham throws deep, but way over the head of the intended receiver, Marco Sinkar, in the area of the BC 40-yard line.
I'd have to think that if the Eskimos are going to have success moving the ball downfield, some of it will come from the heels of that man right there, Tracy Ham. That if nothing opens up quickly for him to get downfield, and once again Tom Richards this time brings in a play from the sidelines.
Well, that incomplete pass served one purpose. It stopped the clock at 2:43 to go. 2nd and 10 Eskimos from their 30. Ham throws. Williams was open, but it was way over his head and intercepted by Andre Francis. And Francis is back to the 15-yard line of the Eskimos. They'll mark him out at the 18.
The one that got away, Tracy Ham, will look inside to Williams going through the middle zone, and simply this ball is overthrown.
Francis playing way off the receivers of the Edmonton Eskimos. Henry Williams cut it inside, and Tracy Ham just plain overthrown.
Sometimes that comes from trying to squeeze it a little bit too hard and force the ball in there with some zip.
So the BC Lions can really take charge if they can convert here. The pass intended for David Williams. Good coverage by Stanley Blair to knock it away. 2:27 remaining, 4th quarter. BC leading by 8.
Saw Joe Farragelli looking, thinking of what possibly could happen and trying to solve the situations before they even occur.
Well, right now, Joe would be hoping that his defense can hold the Lions, obviously, from scoring a touchdown. A field goal, though, will be very beneficial to BC as Dunnigan is back, gets away from one man, then dumps the ball off and completes it to the 15-yard line. Streeter gets away, and he's in the end zone. What a play by Dunnigan and then by Streeter. You'd call that a broken play.
Oh, I'd call that a shattered play, if not for Matt Dunnigan's ability to get that straight arm out and separate himself from the tackler, Stuart Hill. This isn't even a play. And Streeter, you know, I mean, he's downfield. He comes back 25 yards to an open area just so Dunnigan has someone to throw it to. But a great move and spinning away from Stanley Blair and tiptoeing along the sidelines.
Well, Neil, I think if we could ask Dunnigan right now if he believed there was any chance or hope to have any chance of completing that pass, he'd say, no way, I'm just getting rid of the ball.
Let's go!
And it ends in a touchdown for the BC Lions, who now lead 33-19, 2:16 to go. Saglia will attempt to convert and will make it. And the defending champs are now in big trouble.
Ottawa, baby!
The BC Lions went through 5 receivers before they got to Eric Streeter and hung with them. You said earlier that was the case, and watch this. Good straight arm by Matt Dunnigan, just raw strength. He's going to take a shot by Wilson afterwards. Now he evaluates the play, makes sure that's in for 6. Kind of calm and cool reaction, and then kind of a wave back to his old mates.
And Lions came off the bench to congratulate Dunnigan. BC Lions certainly know where the Grey Cup game is. As soon as this game is over, we will select our Foster's MVP and talk with that individual, as the Edmonton Eskimos are now really in a bind. 2:16 to go. And our Foster's MVP will come from this side of the field, one would guess. And Matt Dunnigan has to be a candidate, but lots of Lions have played well. Sandusky is going to kick this kickoff, and the Lions or Eskimos will try to recover it, but it goes out of bounds. We're seeing some things we don't often see. A quick kick, and Sandusky trying to punt the kickoff downfield and hope that the Eskimos recover it.
I first saw that when I was playing in Edmonton. Hugh Campbell was the coach. They put Hank Olisic deep to receive the kickoff and then punt it back with a couple of guys onside. We didn't have success with it then, and they didn't have a lot of success with it right at this point either.
Well, and I guess if there is a time for desperation moves, it's when you're 15 points behind with 2 minutes and 13 seconds left in a game.
Well, it's a long walk back. It would have been even if the Eskimos had won, but Blake Dermott's going to find that walk, that stretch of field before he gets to the dressing room, even longer.
And the BC Lions have just taken a time count violation.
For Larry Donovan, I think we can look back in the calendar and look when the Calgary Stampeders beat the BC Lions, embarrassed them. In the game after that in Hamilton, Matt Dunnigan seemed to find his groove, and from that point on, the BC Lions were a different football team.
Lions lost it down on that. 2nd down and 10 from their 47. Dunnigan is going to throw, and he's going to throw long for David Williams, but it's over his head and over the head of the Eskimo defenders. We have 2:07 left in the 4th quarter. James Parker and the BC Lions can't wait to get to Ottawa, where the Grey Cup game will be played on Sunday. And we'll have it on CFN. We invite you to join us.
Every step of the way, we'll be right behind James Parker and some of those Winnipeg Blue Bombers as they get ready to get after each other in a week from now, and it looks to be like it's going to be a good one.
Third down and 10 for the BC Lions as Pasaglia kicks to Tom Richards. Richards at the Edmonton 20 and will finally go out of bounds at the 21 with 1:57. The Eskimos need 2 touchdowns and a couple of 2-point converts to pull this one out, and they have 1:57 to get it. And Larry Donovan, the head coach of the BC Lions, has to be feeling pretty secure right now. And their team was 5-7, Neil. There was criticism of Donovan, criticism of Joe Galat, of the players, of everybody. And look where they are now.
This is the position of the Edmonton Eskimos, as we looked at Joe Farraghelli, have not been in. It's been a long time since the Eskimos have come out at the short end of the stick in a Western final.
Well, 16 years to be exact. And of course, you know, then you look, Neil, at Hugh Campbell's record. 6 years as head coach, went to the Grey Cup every year. 2 years as general manager. This is his 3rd. He was to the Grey Cup the last 2 years, and his last few years as a player was Saskatchewan. Campbell went to the Grey Cup.
A string many wondered, would it ever be broken? Right now, the magic, I would say, is taken away, and it's been done by a pretty good football team called the BC Lions.
2nd and a couple for the Eskimos from their 30, and they will not have the first down. 1:49 to go. Another streak. Lions had never beaten Edmonton, and they still haven't in a playoff game, but they're very close in 5 tries. They were 0 for 5.
There's Jeff Braswell looking a little bit like Darth Vader.
3rd down and 2. Chris Johnstone juggling the pass from Ham. He made the catch but did not get the first down, and the BC Lions will take over on downs with 1:41 left in the 4th quarter.
Well, it's been a cool day for Larry Donovan as he pulls that collar up. I'm sure he had hoped that this game would have been played at his home field, BC Place Stadium, but was quite willing to take on the challenge, and he was quite nervous the other days. I mean, I was surprised. He's been cool all year, but the pressure finally caught up to him.
We'll be in Ottawa Sunday. Game day at 1 o'clock. Kickoff time is 3 o'clock Eastern time. The Grey Cup game, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and almost certainly the BC Lions, as Reggie Taylor's in and carrying around the left end. Now Williams starts pushing with Benjamin. Now they're going to go at it as flags fly.
Danny Bass is in the middle of it. You know, before this game started, a lot of the Eskimo players, aside from the talk, said they didn't like what they had seen in game films, the little things that the BC Lions had done. And I think that this has just crept up on them, trying to get out some of the frustration.
Well, the build-up and the talk coming into this game indicated that the two teams were very high-strung and on edge, anxious to get at each other, and they've gone at it hard. You hate to see it get to this stage. We have 1:36 left in the fourth quarter, and we'll likely have some players throwing out here as they continue to chatter back and forth.
You look back at the play, and it really started on a pretty good hit on Reggie Taylor. Danny Bass puts a good lick on him and then says something, and you kind of wish he'd leave it at that.
Well, Taylor gave Bass a little bit of a kick, where a kicking motion as he was on the ground, and then Bass returned the favor, and then he was hit by a Lion, and David Williams looks like he's out of the game.
Well, Joe Ferrigilli went to the other side of the field and the sidelines to try to break things up. He knows how unnecessary this all is.
You know that Joe Ferrigilli finds this distasteful. He talked about the pregame talking that his team was doing, didn't like it, spoke with John Mandarich and Rick House about some of the things they'd said. Larry Donovan said, well, our players have talked over the years in Vancouver. It doesn't bother me a bit. Dave Hodge and Tom Larscheid, you're watching this. What do you think?
Well, it was a kicking incident in the regular season involving Jeff Braswell of BC, and now, ironically, perhaps the middle linebacker of the Eskimos kicks to start something as bad.
Well, it's too bad, too, Dave, because both of these teams battled hard today. It's a shame that only one could go on to the Grey Cup, and I know that they're bitter rivals, but you hate to see any incident like that. There's no excuse, and it's uncalled for.
Thank you, Dave and Tom. 1:36 left as play will resume after that rather lengthy delay. Danny Bass headed for the dressing room of the Edmonton Eskimos.
On the positive side, we can now start thinking about next Sunday. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers against this BC Lion football team. Both seem to be peaking at the right time in their season. What a better matchup we could have.
And Matt Dunnigan throwing in the end zone on first down from the 23 of the Edmonton Eskimos. Does it surprise you, Neil, that with the only thing left to do, run out the rest of the time, the Lions are throwing the football?
To be honest with you, yes. The one thing I think would be on the minds of the BC Lions is to get that 1:30 left out of there so they can get in the dressing room and really start to celebrate. And there's one ex-BC Lion that won't be celebrating.
That look told a story. Dunnigan handing off on second down. And the ball is carried by Reggie Taylor down to the 20-yard line of the Eskimos, a gain of about 2. It'll be third down, and we'll see Louis Pasaglia. 1:25 left. Joe Ferrigilli still shouting instructions. Says give up the single. It's a 15-point game. BC leading 34-19. A 29-yard field goal try by Pasaglia. And it's good, and it is now 37-19 for the BC Lions. Larry Donovan could afford a smile if he so chose, but he doesn't. This is a very serious guy. We've met with him and talked with him many times this season, and I'm not saying he doesn't have his lighter side. Obviously he does, but he's very, very businesslike. Joe Ferrigilli, on the other hand, joking around all week long about different things. That's just his nature.
Well, he's always been very frank with us in discussions of what his football team plans to do and how things have gone for them, and we've appreciated it, as we have with all the coaches this year.
Tracy Ham has gotten out of some jams today, but he won't get out of this one. Back at the Edmonton 18-yard line, the clock down to 55 seconds remaining. Well, you have to give the BC Lion organization all the credit in the world for sticking with all the young players they brought in this year. That's John Mandarich of the Edmonton Eskimos. When times were tough, they were 5-7. And things turned around for them in a very big way, with a culmination here today, a win over Edmonton and a trip to the Grey Cup. 39 seconds to go. Neil, you and I broadcast the game on CFN, the game in Hamilton that the Lions won 24-23. They were 5-7 going in as Balderston missed a field goal in the last play. That started it, and it hasn't stopped yet.
Yeah, the great effort by Anthony Parker that got them into the end zone for that win, as you said, was the difference in a team meeting. Before that, airing some problems amongst the players. There were no coaches involved. Sometimes those can play an awfully big part in the resurgence of a football team, because if players can get some things out amongst their own players and discuss problems that they're having, sometimes if you can clear the air, it makes a difference, and I think it did in this case.
27 seconds left now in the fourth quarter. The ball has just gone back over to the BC Lions. After that game in Hamilton, the Lions went home, played the Ticats again, and beat them by 3 points, 24-21. Then they lost in Regina, and then they started to roll. They beat Edmonton, Joe Faragelli's team here, 35-15. Went home and beat the Eskimos 51-15. Beat Winnipeg 45-24. Went into Regina last Sunday, won the West semifinal 42-18, and here leading 37-19 with 24 seconds to go. And you know, it's one thing to win a championship game, get to the Grey Cup, but to win 2 playoff games on the road in Taylor Field and Commonwealth Stadium, that's a feat.
It's a tough thing at any time to come in here or go on the road for both playoff games, but especially into Edmonton, where you're not used to the regular grass. You have to make some adjustments in your footwear. It's a little bit colder. They've done a good job. They deserve an awful lot of credit.
The clock is running. It's now down to 2 seconds, 1 second, and that'll be it. The game is over. The BC Lions, who led by 2, 17-15 at halftime, came on strong in the fourth quarter. Couple of touchdown passes, Matt Dunnigan to David Williams, and then to Eric Streeter. And Joe Faragelli's Edmonton Eskimos will not be going to the Grey Cup. Larry Donovan's BC Lions will. They'll be playing the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in Ottawa next Sunday, and CFN will be there. We'll have the game for you. The final score in the West Final in Edmonton: the Lions 37, the Eskimos 19.